ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्ति भेद विभागिने व्योमवत् व्याप्त देहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। नित्यं शुद्धं निराभासं निराकारं निरञ्जनं नित्यबोधं चिदानन्दं गुरुं ब्रह्म नमाम्यहम्। ओम। So we think we are blessed with a faculty called mind, an instrument called mind. It cannot be seen. Directly it cannot be seen. But you cannot say, because it is not seen, it's not there. Generally, our understanding is what is seen is, what is not seen is not. And an extension of that logic is, God is not seen and therefore God is not. Well, let's not bother about God right now. Let's leave God for God's sake. The mind is. You can appreciate a thing when you see the thing, or you can see a thing and then you can arrive at the cause of the thing. You can see a thing and its effects. The object is seen. You can see an effect and then arrive at the cause. Today, a lot of actions are being performed. All these actions that I am performing are not purely done by, effected by, executed by the hands, the legs, the mouth. No, through them action is being executed all right, but they are not executing the actions. So when an action is being executed, there must be an executor of the action. If it is not, one will become executed. So seeing the action called walking, seeing the action called talking, seeing any action taking place, I do understand that certain gross instruments are being used. They are only channels through which action is taking place. Behind that, there is something else subtle, which is being called mind. We are not talking about mind in the technical sense of the term. We are talking about an instrument called mind, general sense of the term. That instrument which is subtle, which makes use of the instruments which are gross and executes the action through them. So this, whatever we call as mind, is nothing but thoughts. Now, when we go a little more technically, you'll have to go and then say a particular type of thought flow is called mind. A particular format of thought is called mind. Since last session, we have already used a Sanskrit word. We can use that once more. Sankalpa vikalpatmaka antakarana vrittihi is called manaha. Vrittihi a thought. Let's not go into the technical details about the thought and all. We know what thought is. That thought, which comes from within, don't know where, from within, you see it come out from some source, and that source is somewhere within. So that instrument is something within, and therefore we call it antaha karanam, inner equipment. Need not necessarily mean it should be something like, your kidneys are inside the body, your liver is there inside the body, your lungs are inside the body. Similarly, this antakaranam must be there somewhere inside. Need not be in that sense of the term inside. Then why do you use the word inside? Because it's not outside. Because it's not so easily seen. It's not available for objectification. Just as this camera is available for objectification, similarly, this so-called instrument is not available for objectification, and therefore it's not gross. Or in these parts you call it gross. It's not gross. Because it is not gross, and therefore it's not outside, it is inside. So, antahkarana, inner equipment. This inner equipment in the form of thought, what sort of thought it is? Sankalpa vikalpatmakam. Some sort of a kalpana is being done, some sort of a build-up is being done, some form of projection is being done, some form of visualization is being done. That sort of visualization is called sankalpa, a fancy. Maybe it's like this, maybe it's like that. And then vikalpa is the exact opposite of it. A viruddha kalpana is being done. A fancying in the exact opposite direction. Have I locked the door? Yeah, I think I've locked the door. No, I don't think I locked the door. No, maybe I locked the door. Then you provide certain information. Maybe I've locked the door. I went to that aunt's house. I greeted them and then maybe I locked the door. And then again say, maybe I have not locked the door. Maybe that was yesterday I went. Maybe. So this is called the mind. One side and then the exact opposite side. So this sort of instrument which does this fancying, sankalpa and vikalpa, is called mind. I am blessed with this instrument called mind. Generally, whatever I am blessed with can also turn out to be a nuisance for myself. I have a bunch of keys. It's a blessing in disguise. But then I keep on fiddling with that all the time. Nuisance. A pencil in the hand is nice. But nowadays I don't see it much. Earlier I used to see people chewing the pencil. Have you seen any time? People chewing the pencil? Very good. So I'm not the only crazy guy. That pencil, which was an instrument to effectively carry on my transaction, well, in a way you can also say my tensions I get rid of by chewing the pencil, all right. But then it becomes, that very instrument turns out to be a nuisance. You'll find knives, they are no more sharp. Why? That instrument which was meant for cutting, you start abusing it for something else until at last it becomes blunt. So whatever can be used can also be abused, is liable for being abused or can also be disused. So, and whatever is available for use can be used, abused, misused, or disused. Anything that is meant for use, if I use it, is never a problem. It can never shackle me. It can never bind me. But anything and everything that I misuse, disuse, or abuse is bound to bind me, shackle me, if not immediately, immediately. Today maybe I can get away with that, but tomorrow I'm going to be trapped. Use is never a problem. Abuse, misuse, disuse is bound to be a problem. Similarly, the mind, which is an instrument, fancy. It is a blessing in disguise, and that blessing in disguise can turn out to be a problem. We generally hear people say, too many options open from me, that's a problem. I don't know what to do. I look at it this way, I look at it that way, I look at it that way. Now, if the options are closed, very few options are there, things would be nice. That's what we think. And we effect it also. Nowadays it's not very much seen. Good old days. And I'm qualified to talk about good old days because I'm pretty old. The horses used to have blinders. Too many options before the horse is going to be a problem. That's what I think, and then put the blinder. Have you ever seen that? So that nothing will be seen, only right what is in front the horse can see. Go about. Similarly, I feel if I am not blessed with this mind, or even if I am blessed with this fancying capacity, the power, the capability, if it's pruned, restricted, it would have been nice. Then the fancying power is not a fancying power. Sky should be the limit for fancy. Then only it's called fancy. If it's all restricted, then it's not called fancy. So therefore, the mind should fancy. But then, when it should fancy then. How it should fancy, if it fancies that way, then it's a blessing. When it should be fancied, you don't fancy, the disuse of it is going to turn out to be a problem. Is bound to turn out to be a problem. Is bound to be a problem. And therefore, this instrument called mind, which is fancy, that very instrument is not independent in itself. It is connected to another instrument called the intellect, which is the instrument for decision. Again, we have to define the word intellect. I don't know whether it's the right word. We'll use a Sanskrit word, buddhihi. Nischayatmika antakarana vrittihi buddhihi. That thought pattern emanating from the inner equipment, which is in the form of decision, ascertainment, that nischaya, that ascertained, the thought which contains that ascertainment, that thought which is of the form of ascertainment, that thought is called buddhi. So, the mind is meant for the buddhi. As long as we use the mind for that purpose, so long it's going to be a blessing. If it is not, then it's going to turn out to be a problem. If it's not for the buddhi. Generally, you see the person dreaming, fancying, projecting, imagining, etc. in a loose sense of the term. Not for effecting an action, not for the sake of the buddhi to come into picture, into the play. Mind should project, do its job for the buddhi to enter into the scene. Then once the buddhi enters into the scene and takes charge, the mind should stop its transaction. Will stop the transaction. In fact, once some buddhi comes in, the mind stops the transaction. Once the intellect comes in, the mind stops the transaction. Anyhow, let's not bother about that right now. This person is busy fancying. It can turn out to be a big problem. It seems a couple was there. They were very nice, lovely couple. When they were a tenant in a house, the house owner was very happy with these tenants. Loving people, very affectionate, very concerned. The husband and wife, so nice. One fine day they were shouting, screaming. The house owner was wondering what happened to them. And the neighbors also started wondering. They are lovely people, what happened? Finally, the house owner takes the courage in his hands and then goes up and then knocks at the door. Then both of them say, "Uncle, uncle, come in, uncle." He said, what's the problem? Something happened in between. He said, no, you ask him only. This owner goes and asks that man, "Hey, what's the problem?" "You ask her. What does she think about herself?" He's telling that you are a cause. He is a cause problem. Go ask him what you want, uncle. Don't ask me, uncle. Then the uncle pacifies both of them, then brings both of them together and then asks, "Yeah, now what's the problem?" "She is insisting that my son should become a lawyer. And he is telling that he should become a doctor." Then, what does the son want to do? He is not yet born. 15, 17 years. Then, so much you fancy and project until at last what? Pent up so much. Fancying for emotional satisfaction always creates a problem. How will this be? How will that be? Will this car be good? Will that house be good? Are you interested in buying a house? No. Building a house? No. At least you want to invest? No. How about the money? I don't have any money. House. Should be $1 million house or $1 trillion house. This car, that car. Fancying, projecting, fancying really speaking, technically speaking, fancying for emotional satisfaction creates lots of problems. At least one problem is you are not going to be happy. With yourself, you are not going to be happy. The more and more one fancies for emotional satisfaction, one gets drained out. You build so much and you go there. Finally, you have to come back here again. From where you left, you have to come back to the same old place. You sit here in Edmonton and then say what? Snow, oh God, shoveling and all these things. How nice it would have been in Vancouver, or how nice it had been in Mexico. And then you start spinning, and then you build a house also there. And then the wife comes and says, "Honey, we'll have to do the shoveling." I tell you how pleasant it's going to be now. Maybe a Canadian wife, all right. "Honey, why didn't you do the shoveling?" Very nicely. You'll have to come back to reality, I tell you. So much you have built And now, having seen the best, you cannot settle down for the second best. Go to India, especially South India, especially Tamil Nadu, and go there into a nice Brahmin house, have some nice coffee, and then come to Canada. Your Seattle's second cup, whatever it is. None of the coffees are going to be tasty at all. They smell all right, but they don't taste. You can't settle down for the second best. And even if you settle down for the second best, it's only incidental. I have created a best in my mind by fancying. And now I have to come back to the same stuff, which I can't stand. So therefore, fancying is good, but let it not be for emotional satisfaction, emotional well-being. Let that fancying be for transaction to be effective. There is a need for action. There are so many options. Which is the best option? Should I do it this way or that way? Had that capacity not been given, I would not have been effective in implementing an action pattern. Effective living would not be there. And effective living is not there, then defective living would be there. Well, I can't even call it defective. All right, you can call it defective if you want. So therefore, for me to live my life effectively, I should fancy. So I am blessed with this power of fancying so that I can effectively carry on my transactions. But that very instrument has turned out to be a nuisance for me. Somebody was telling me the other day, Swamiji, my mind goes out all the time. How can it go all the time? If it goes out all the time, that means the mind must not be there. No. Because it's already gone. We have made it a habit to project, dream, fancy, and tie ourselves down to that, our well-being, emotional well-being towards that. A satisfaction, emotional satisfaction. I am not satisfied with myself and therefore I go away that side. Something like, I'm tired, ice hockey, Oilers match going on. There's nothing wrong in watching a match. You are learning, and there you are also learning what's happening. That's beautiful. Living is for education or for entertainment. Even that very entertainment could be an education. Cricket is a beautiful game. It's all learning all the way through. So therefore, is he going to bowl like this or is he going to bowl like that? He made the ball move away from me. That was the last ball. Maybe the next ball he'll make it move towards me. Maybe. So in case I fancy, then I learn how to play the stroke. Or do you think maybe he'll make the ball move away from me, but not that much away from me, so that I just get a sneak can be there, and then for a catch. So this capacity to fancy is given to me. Had it not been there, I can't really live. And therefore, fancying is an instrument given for action. That's where decision comes in. That's where your so-called planning also comes in. If fancying is for the end in mind, then you call the whole process as planning. If that fancying is not for that given end in mind, getting the transaction done, then it is for an emotional satisfaction, then it becomes gossiping. Well, there can be two types of gossips. One is a gossip manifesting from the mouth through speech. The other could be a mental gossip. This very fancying instrument drains me down. Morning, I am completely charged battery, fully charged battery. By the time I come back home, drained, completely drained. Only thing is, I can replace the batteries if it's what do you call that, a cell phone, or if it's a cordless phone, I can change the batteries. But how am I going to change this battery? They are not replaceable batteries. We can go to the shop and get one battery and put it there. So therefore, I should learn. It may be a habit, all right, but I'll have to learn to stop. That fancying for unnecessary purposes or for non-necessary purposes, which is called unnecessary purpose. Fancying for emotional satisfaction should stop. Behind that, there's another problem, all right, which again you'll go a little more deeper, and then you'll find the spiritual problem there, which means what? What's the evaluation that you have about yourself? Based on that evaluation that you have about yourself, you are not happy, and therefore you want to fancy, and then have a satisfactory presentation of yourself. That's a different problem. I should be able to say, shut up. As I said earlier, in a decent way, you can say, shut up. Fancy, not for emotional satisfaction, fancy for transactional purposes. How am I going to break the habit? All habits are nothing but mechanical action. Whether it is smoking habit, drinking habit, or whatever the habit is, it's all mechanical action. If I consciously, deliberately do an action, then there's no habit involved. I'm not bothered about a particular thing which I am bound by. It's already a big problem for me. Maybe my smoking habit, maybe my drinking habit, maybe my gambling habit, maybe my this habit or that. I'm not bothered about that. That's an issue, let me address it. But after all, even that is nothing but a habit only. For a smoker, smoking habit is very big. Oh God, I can get rid of anything but smoking. And for the person who drinks, drinking is a very big problem. Anything else I can manage easily. In all the habit, there is some satisfaction you get out of it. You have derived some satisfaction from it. First, it's a mechanical action, and you derive some satisfaction. If I start learning to live a conscious life, a wakeful life, an alert life, you will find habits automatically lose the hold on you. Today, habits strangulate me. I am strangulated by habit. In time, habit loses its power to hold you, to grasp you, tie you down. They are there. So conscious, deliberate living can help me come out of this fancying. But I should also understand fancying for emotional satisfaction runs me into greater problems. But fancying for effective transaction, fancying for decision making is not at all a problem. Then we come to the instrument called intellect, which is responsible for decision making, which we shall see sometime later. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.